gets in. Oh, there it is.
Solid contact up the middle and back to pass. Well, he's going to throw it for the downs here in the corner. Oh, what a catch! What a touchdown, Raiders!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Raider Recap here on HCTV Sports. Here we're going to talk about all the latest news in Raider sports and as well recap the season we have seen so far. We're midway through the winter season, almost playoff time already. So let's just get right into it. Now's a great time to introduce my co-host for this episode, Theodore Tollefson.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Hunter. I'm glad to be here and just to be bringing some news and updates to the community of Hastings on what winter sports are like and what to expect come playoff season.
So why don't we get into our first bit of HHS Raider news. Theo will get us started.
Yeah, so we've had a few things that have come up over the past few weeks during the month of January. The first of which is that the Raiders girls soccer team has a new coach, Paul Armstrong. He will be replacing Scott Meyer, who stepped down at the end of this previous season. So a little news on Armstrong. He is coming from St. Paul Academy in Summit School as their girls head coach. He coached a conference championship in Section 3A, won Coach of the Year, and is one of only 6 coaches in Minnesota to be nominated as an All-American coach. Yes. So pretty impressive hire for the Raiders and girls soccer team, and hopefully he'll be a great addition for not only the team, but his presence in the community.
The other Raider coaching hire is for the sport of cross country. Joe Rabe will be taking over for John Dewall. Joe is a graduate of HHS, graduating here in 2013. He's also a graduate from St. John's University in 2017 and is currently seeking his graduate degree from the University of Minnesota in the ecology department. He has experience in 3 different sports and is glad to be back in the HHS community.
4 Hastings High School students received the Minnesota State High School League Recognition Awards, 2 separate awards for each of the 2 students in these categories. Emma McLay and Eddie Piney both received the Excel Award, the Excellence in Community and Education Leadership, while Megan Brown and Ben Witt were recipients of the AAA Award, AAA as in Academics, Athletics, and Arts.
Now it's time to hop in and take a look at our Raider sports teams here and check in and how the seasons are going. First, I think we're going to start off with the boys basketball team. The boys basketball team have definitely had an up and down season. I definitely think in all the games we have seen, they've played a lot better than their record indicates. Currently, they have a 2-12 record, a 1-5 record in the conference, but all the games we have seen, they've played hard. They've been this close to winning, but they just haven't quite gotten there, with the exception of this last game
Against Two Rivers. Yes. They won 59-45, and that was probably one of the best games we've seen them play all season. You know, they kept the lead going, and one of the first games that we covered for them, I think it was the first, was against Park of Cottage Grove, and that was a close game right down to the wire. And it was kind of surprising they didn't go to overtime. But yeah, I know they've also had some troubles with player health in terms of COVID protocols and whatnot, so that was definitely a stump during the middle of season.
I think during that Tartan game, both teams were down 6 or 7 guys. And
yeah.
That fact alone, Hastings lost that game 61-53, but the score the whole time was neck and neck until the end. And then Tartan just got some separations, sloppy turnovers at the end of the game. Just kind of forced the Raiders' downfall in that game.
It did.
Also, going back to that Park game too, that game really surprised me when we were covering it, because Park was actually preseason ranked number 10 for their section, and Hastings was in there the whole time. But there are also a few guys I think on this team that have been pretty special this season. Michael Mitchell has been one. He's averaging 17.2 points per game, and he's made an insane amount of 3-pointers. Owen Burnatz, 10.4 points per game. Watson was 8.1, 10 games played. Axel Arnold, 8.1 points per game in 9 games played. Both of those 2 players, Watson and Arnold, are team captains. There are some bright spots on this team, but I think they've just got to get those pieces to click.
Yeah, and again, player health was definitely a contribution to that not happening quite yet. And we were able to see that in this last game against Two Rivers, and it was their first conference win of the season as well. So hopefully that will help them to just pull themselves together and be able to finish the rest of the season strong compared to how the first half has really been going.
So now why don't we take a look at the conference standings, where they're lying, and as well take a look at some of their upcoming games for the rest of the season.
So yeah, they're currently second to last in the conference right now, only up on Hill Murray, who have had a record of 0-5 on the season in conference play and 2-12 overall, just like the Raiders. So they're right now just trying to keep their edge above them. And right now it's South St. Paul at the very top of the conference, 5-0, with a 15-0 record overall, which is pretty impressive for them to be on top of St. Thomas Academy as well, like that, who is in second at 9-5 overall and 4-2.
So now let's take a look at the boys' schedule. Next game, they will be traveling to Simley to take on the Spartans over there. Town Square Television will be covering that game, and if this episode gets out after that, we will have the game available on tape delay on HCTV channel 799. Thank you to them for covering that. Then they will be at home versus Stillwater at 7 p.m. on this February 2nd. Our next broadcast for the Raider boys will be Saturday, February 5th at 3 p.m. versus Duluth East. That should be a fun game. Team traveling down from the Great North to play Hastings, so it should be a great time. The boys definitely have a little bit of an uphill battle going into playoffs, but who knows, get some things to click and you can run the table into playoffs.
Right.
So now why don't we take a look at the girls team? The girls have been on fire. This has been some special season. The Raiders are under new head coach Sherry McLeod. They're averaging 55.4 points a game. They've been pretty incredible. There's a lot of special players on this team. Maggie Schlotman, Emma Baker, Keegan McVicker, and Lily Newton especially has been something special. She's been averaging over 18 points a game for the Raiders. And fun fact, she's almost to her 1,000 mark, and she might hit that this Friday.
To be fairly impressive, and it's a very hard ranked stat to achieve when you are at the high school level because of playing time and seniority always getting priority. So it's going to be interesting to see, and I think if she does make that within the next couple of weeks, that's just going to be an amazing thing to have in the record books here at Hastings.
Special shout out to Dick Craig for giving us that little factoid. Lily Newton is also a commit to the Minnesota State University. She'll be going to play with the Mavericks. The Raider girls are 10-4 overall. In section games, they are 1-2, and in the conference, they are 4-1. So, Theo, why don't you take a look at the rest of the conference standings and tell us how the rest of the teams line up?
Yeah, so right now, Hastings is actually second in the conference for girls basketball. The only team ahead of them is Model Media, and they're undefeated in conference play, but have a worse overall record of 10-6. So Hastings definitely has a chance to get that first place ranking, but they also are tied with Hill Murray at 4-1 and Simley at 4-1. Hill Murray is 6-6 overall, but Simley is better by half a game at 10-3. So it's going to be a very competitive fight down to the edge. And it's interesting because we're actually going to be broadcasting their next game against Simley this upcoming Friday, the 28th. So it will be a great game, very competitive for both these teams who are trying to fight for that first place ranking within the conference. So we're definitely looking forward to that upcoming game.
I do think there is a lot to look forward to with that Raiders girls team, and Simley's going to be a great test for them and how they're going to battle back in heading into sections, which we will update you as soon as we have more information available and what our broadcast schedule will be.
Yeah, obviously that's usually brought up in mid to late February, depending on the sport. Basketball is usually in that time frame, and hockey, which we'll get to later in the show, we'll have more information on probably in the beginning of the month, because again, we're in Minnesota and it's the biggest state high school tournament for hockey in the entire nation. So looking forward to that as well.
Now let's turn it over to head coach of the Raiders wrestling team, Tim Hanneberg, as he provides an update on the Raider wrestling season.
Overall, the season's been going really good. We've our duels, our tries, our quads, our conference stuff has been going pretty smooth so far. I think our chemistry is really good to start off with. We do a summer camp every single day throughout the summer. So our kids are together for a long period of time during the summer, and that's where we usually create our kind of bonds and memories and build those relationships. And I feel like when we get to the season, that is kind of securely in place, those kind of bonds and friendships. I struggled not with any certain duel or a date or anything like that. I would say just staying healthy. Lately, the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, we've had a lot of kids kind of missing for certain things. Not too many injuries this year. but mainly COVID and stuff like that. Our poster a couple years ago was next man up. So when someone gets knocked down for something like that or has to take a step back, we usually have someone right there to replace them. And that's how our kids are usually trained, that they're going to be able to jump in the varsity lineup at any given second and perform at a high level too. So even though we've had those kind of setbacks or where a kid gets brought out of the lineup, we bring someone right in and they respond really, really well and wrestle at a high level too. We got 7 girls on our team right now, and they have jumped right in and not missed a beat at all. When it comes to our warm-ups, our drilling, the matches, or anything like that, they have just bought in completely and wrestled at a super high level too. All of them are first-year wrestlers, except Skylar Little Soldier, who was a varsity wrestler for us last year. But all of them jumping in for the first year have responded so well and are having a huge amount of success. So we have Kayla Williams, Allison Weinzettel, Annabelle Norquist, Alicia Brown, Amelia Miller, and then Lauren Whitfield, all who are having great success so far this year. The team record, we don't have a huge ego over it, or and we don't think about that and try to protect that record. We have tough teams throughout the year too, and we just try to take it individually, match by match basis, and make sure that each kid is improving throughout the year. Our kids are taking losses, and that's usually what we build on. We honestly, we don't really focus on the team record too much. We do try to win the conference championship. We do always try to make it to the state tournament, but we really try to focus on that individual success as well. And when a kid takes a loss, we use that as a learning opportunity to get better in the future. And we always have the saying 1% better every day. So making sure our kids are just getting that 1% better every day throughout the season. When I think about who our best kid is on our team, I struggle to think about who that one person might be that is the best kid. Down low, we have Trey Beisel, who's an undersized 106 pounder, and he's an 8th grader, and he's been wrestling out of his mind so far this year and doing really well. His older brother, Blake Beisel, is a sophomore, and he's ranked number 1 in the state right now. At 126, we have Jack Bainbridge, who's a 9th grader, and he's going out there and pinning every single kid. Our 2 captains are 145 and 152 right in the middle, Josh Proud and Aiden Erickson. We fast forward to Ian Peppel at 170. He's having a great season, first-year varsity guy as a junior. Rico Cooper is another junior, and he's wrestling 82 and 95. And our 2 big guys at top, Austin LaFleur at 220, and then Blake Clemens at heavyweight. All the way from the bottom to the top, I really couldn't highlight maybe one of those kids. I would say all those kids are just having great seasons. On February 3rd, we're hosting St. Michael Albertville, who's probably the best team in the state right now. They're ranked number 1 in AAA. So we're hosting them. And then right before our varsity and JV duel, we're gonna have a K through 6 youth duel as well. So it's gonna be a great night to showcase all the way from K all the way to the 12th grade in both our communities. Hopefully we're the number 1 seed in the section, and I really do believe we have a really good shot of making it to the state tournament and placing as a team as well. So, and then I named all those individuals earlier too, and hopefully we can get a lot of kids individually on the podium as well at the state tournament.
I think the Raiders have proved they can compete with these top teams in the state, and that will carry over into sections and hopefully earn them a state tournament berth. So next, why don't we move into some hockey action? First, let's start with the girls. The girls are getting close to the end of the season already. It's playoffs start in early February for the girls. It's unbelievable how fast this season's moved by.
Yeah, it's moved on pretty fast, and the girls haven't had the best season in their books, but they did win the last game we covered, which was against Manomedai, and the Manomedai team had an 8th grade goalie, and they beat them 6-2, and they are overall in the conference 2-5, but 7-13 with their overall record. So they're still having a decent season, not as good as the boys, of course, but still putting out some great effort with the games that we've covered, and definitely want to give a shout out to them for that.
The girls definitely have been playing a lot better as of late. They definitely went through a losing streak for a little bit. The girls are averaging 2.15 goals per game, allowing it just above 3. I do want to highlight one of the goalies. Vander Hayden's been the primary goalie. She's done a pretty decent job, but recently the past 2 games against St. Paul, Two Rivers, and Manomedai, we've seen Steinke. Steinke's played phenomenal in the games we have seen her.
Yeah.
She has 99 shots on goal and 88 saves. So she's been playing pretty great. Other key players for the Raider girls have been Kyra Erickson, 6 goals, 4 assists. 14, Jade Shower, 5 goals, 7 assists. And then Kiki Redant, 5 goals, 10 assists. Both of those players have been pretty key for the Raiders this season, and I definitely think they have been playing a little better than their record shows at 7-13. And I think they could make a little bit of a push, but it'll definitely be a tough task the rest of the way.
Right, and just to mention that last game that we covered against Monomedai, the 6 different players got their 6 goals, which was also a nice improvement to see. Just, you know, a great balance from all the team, at least in getting goals in and different assists. So it wasn't just one player getting all the goals in, or 2 that we usually see from the boys team more often, but that was just great for those girls to have that spotlight for themselves.
So now why don't we take a look at the conference standings and see how the girls stand up, and then let's take a look at their upcoming games and when our next broadcast is.
Yeah, so with the Metro East Conference for girls hockey, Simley's at top right now, 7-2, and with an overall record of 16-4. So it's going to be a little difficult for the Raiders to catch up to them with how dominant they are. Hill Murray is actually undefeated in the conference right now at 6-0, but are 13-8 overall. So non-conference play is a little more tripping them up compared to other teams. And Hastings is second to last, just like the boys basketball team, but with girls hockey in the Metro East Conference, only Monomedai is beneath them at 0-10 in the conference. So I think it's safe to say they're probably not going to catch up, and 2-18 overall.
Coming up next for the Raiders, we will see them traveling to Visitation on January 29th. Then on the 31st, that's a Monday, you'll see them at North Tartan. And then to wrap up the regular season, they will be traveling to Monomedai. First playoff game, I believe, lands on February 9th. We will either be there or covering girls basketball. That is to be determined. We will keep you updated as soon as we find out on that. But a lot of playoff action coming soon and very exciting stuff coming up. Now let's move into the boys hockey team. Man, they have been special this season. They are also under a new head coach, Matt Klein. This is his first season. He also coaches the boys golf team.
Yep.
I think I heard Trent say it himself once. It's pretty crazy to coach 2 varsity sports. But man, is he succeeding. Ever since the premier tournament, they have been playing out of their minds. They scored over, 20 goals and only gave up 2 in that tournament, giving up 1 to Bloomington Jefferson and 1 to Woodbury, which we were carrying coverage courtesy of Town Square Television. I had the joy of working that game. It was insane seeing that offensive production out of that team.
Yeah, this boys hockey team for Hastings has been just a different level on another world, especially since that premier tournament. They are 15-2 and 1 overall, and 2-2 and 1 in the conference. Obviously not as much conference play yet, but they have so much to prove in their final conference games of the season. You know, and they're also just averaging so many points a game, and they've only had 1 game where they've given up 3 goals or more since the tournament, and that was against Simley on Saturday, January 15th, and they only gave up 3 goals. So this team, again, there's something special. You want to go over some stats, Hunter? I mean, we can just go on, and we're going to have a special guest later to talk about the boys hockey team, so stay tuned.
Yeah, some of the players that have been standing out, I definitely think, are Connor Stoffel and Jake Harris. Their stats are somewhat similar. The only difference between the two is between 1 assist. Both have 18 goals. Stoffel has 24 assists, and Harris has 25. So that gives Stoffel 42 points and Harris 43 points. I also want to highlight some of these goalies. While Holden Richardson has mainly taken most of the reps and goals, Cody Niederkorn has also held his end of the bargain. He has a goals allowed average of 2.71, while Richardson has a 1.78. Their save percentage is 8.95 for Niederkorn, and Richardson has one of 0.920, which is pretty incredible. They're not giving up a lot of goals. They're scoring a lot of goals. They've been on a scoring tear. In all the games we have seen, they've scored over 5 or 6 goals. Park, they scored over 6 goals, winning 6-2. Tartan, we saw them through SEC's coverage. They tied 3-3, but then they had a big revenge game, and they beat them 5-1. And they are just something special.
Yeah, and so let's just look at those conference standings right now. At top is Hill Murray. They're 6-0, but they have a little worse overall record of 12-3-1. So a little less games played, but one more in the conference where they've dominated. St. Thomas Academy is not having their best season as they usually would. They're 5-2 in the conference, but overall they're 10-8. So Hastings definitely has a chance to, do some damage against them. Even though they don't have a regular season game, there's still a chance they might meet up in the high school tournament. That gives them some confidence, I'm sure, just to have the advantage overall in that matchup, since they won't have a conference game too. And Hastings is third to last in the conference right now because they've tied a game and they're 2-2.
That's definitely a very misleading stat because the Raiders have a great overall record. It's just when their losses has happened, it's been in the conference.
And their one tie against Tartan, but they got that revenge against them, as we mentioned earlier.
Upcoming schedule, they will be playing South St. Paul once again Saturday the 29th, if that already hasn't happened. Last time they played, they beat them 10-0 in the Premier Tournament, which is pretty incredible. Then they'll travel to Two Rivers. Our next broadcast will be Tuesday, February 8th versus Eastridge, and then we will see them later Thursday, February 17th versus Lakeville North, which is always such a tough team, especially once it comes playoff time, but I expect that to be a great one. And with the way this offense is playing, I think the Raiders can knock them off.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that Lakeville North game. So for those of you who don't know, I'm from Burnsville originally, and Lakeville North is one of those teams during high school, we just never liked them no matter what the sport, not as badly as Prior Lake. So I'm glad I'll be on the call for that one and definitely be rooting for those boys to get a clear victory against Lakeville North. So I'm looking forward to that game.
Absolutely. But now, to wrap up our hockey segment, we recently met up with the voice of Raider Nation to tell us a little bit about his pregame ceremony that was held before the game against Simley on the 15th. So let's kick it over to that.
The hockey night for boys hockey where the team honored you. You got the ceremonial first puck drop. So how was that experience for both you and your family and just being able to, get out there for a game and enjoy the evening with the team?
You mentioned it first, my family. I think that was the most special part of everything. Just to be able to celebrate that night with my wife and my son. And that's why, as many of you already know, I made the decision a few months back to kind of move on out of radio and kind of back into the working world and all that fun stuff. But it was a great night. It was a Saturday night, a great crowd too, because you got Hastings and Inver Grove Heights being Simley, right? So there was a lot of people on both sides. And to be honest, people on both sides that I really knew and got to know the last few years. So even on the Simley side, there were some handshakes, hugs, and knuckle knocks after that little celebration. And it was kind of hard to get back from the ice to my seat with my wife and my kid because I was stopping and having so much fun with people in either red and blue shirts or blue and gold. So I can't thank Coach Matt Klein enough and his staff. Those guys are second to none, and our kids are just so lucky to have, the types of people leading the way, and it was fantastic. And then to have the guys kind of put the sticks up and let me walk through and kind of give me a tap on the backside or on the back of the head, or what the hell's my son. He had so much fun every time the guys scored, of course, crashing into the glass and being right next to the student section. And I'm sure all the Raiders student section knew exactly who that boy was, going crazy with all the goals that were scored. I haven't been to as many games or matches or meets as I would like to because with my new job, I work till 6, really Monday through Friday. So it's still, a little later into the evening or whatever, but the rest of my evening is free with my family and to be able to take in games. Believe it or not, folks, you guys probably knew that. What does Tuck like to do for fun, even with his wife when they're by themselves? Oh yeah, well, guess what? I'm going to go to a Raiders sporting event. That's the fun stuff. So yeah, I've been keeping tabs on as many teams as I've been able to. But I've also kept in contact with all my coaches, which really has helped too. So I've kind of gotten a little bit of an inside look like I might have used to while still on the radio. It's been fun. It's no doubt. It's a different seat, but I'm still full-blooded Raider, and I'm trying to cover, not cover necessarily, but cover the whole blanket, if you will, of teams trying to get out, maybe see them a time or two.
I just want to know your general thoughts on what you've seen from the hockey team and what you think makes them special.
you have balance, guys. That's the thing about this team that I absolutely love is you could throw any line that you have on your roster out there, and they could compete with any line in the state. Conversely, I mean, we saw with Matamidi, right, a couple of weeks ago. Hastings gets the win against Matamidi in the back and forth game where you get into the late portions of the third period as a coach, especially being at home. You get that final change. After the whistle blows, you get to put that line you want out there. You get that final change. If Matamidi tries to equal that and try to delay the game, the refs will send them back, right? So being at home, and Hastings knew that, they could really match their lines as good as they possibly could. But the thing is when Coach Peschel would try to do the same thing with Matamidi, it didn't matter, did it? I mean, any line the Raiders are throwing out there, they were competitive. And I think when you talk about a team like Matamidi, who's a perennial state powerhouse, albeit in Class A, now that's an impressive victory. And when you got two goaltenders that can both win you games, and let's be frank, I mean, sometimes the goaltender's going to have to steal you a game. They're going to have to steal one. You might have a game where up front you're just not clicking. You're not able to get the power play going. Something fell apart defensively. We're ill, we're sick, we're injured or something. You got to have a goaltender steal a game or two. And with Holden Richardson and Cody Niederkorn, both those guys have been absolutely fantastic. And their defensive core is solid, led by, Colin Stewart and some of these guys that have, they've played for a while now. I mean, they've been around the game and they've played enough big games in section semifinals and championship games, and they've been there now. So I think Coach Klein and the staff are reaping the benefits of the last couple of years of success. The kids have wanted to be that team.
Absolutely. A lot of excitement coming out of the boys hockey program, and I think there's going to be a lot to look forward to for the years to come. But now I want to thank you all for watching this first episode of Raider Recap. Sorry you've had to deal with my raspy voice for a little bit. Football playoffs kind of destroyed it. Those Packers had to blow it really bad, but it is what it is. But we're glad to have you along. Please let us know what we can do better. Let us know how we can improve this. We're just glad to have you along for the ride, and thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in for this first episode of Raider Recap, and we're hoping to keep this going throughout the next year and get recaps on the spring and fall sports once they come around as well. And yes, with football season being over, at least for Hunter in terms of his own team, it'll sound much better the next time we're on air.
Absolutely. So thank you again, and we'll see you later.